Hey everybody, I'll make this quick. Only kidding. No, I won't. A lot of stuff to cover. A lot of exciting things happening. Prophecies, tailwinds, and some breaking news, which I probably can't really talk about because it's political in nature, but you can tell by my smile on my face, it's a good thing. So we'll kind of break down all the stuff from Wyoming, Jerome Powell, macro, money, Bitcoin, crypto, the top use case. What else? We had the breakout. We had the prophecy. The crypto market was now all of a sudden $2.3 trillion, and it was like $2 trillion a few days ago. But what's 300 billion between friends? Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in chat too. TND Tesla, K8, Sean Donnelly. Let's go. Let's go. Disclaimer. Just a guy on the internet who knows nothing except for data. That's it. And thank you to Patreon as well. It's from Miguel Angel Martinez. Says, proud Patreon member. Finally live. Thank you so much. You rock, and I love everybody there from all over the world. It's incredible. Let's go. So this week, if you start, let me see. Everything's backwards, kind of mirrored. I don't know which way is up anymore. But on Wednesday, I said short squeeze incoming. I can see it in the data. On Thursday, I said if we can hold 60,500, we can quite possibly break to 63K. And after that, we break out. And guess what? It's Friday Fire. We are breaking out, and it's confirmed. And I'll explain why as well. First of all, this chart is now a little bit out of date because we're at 63,700 instead of 63,231. But over the last 7 days, we've gone up nearly 5% for Bitcoin, nearly 5% for Ethereum. Basically, everything is kind of green across the board, with the exception of Leo and Caspa. No idea what Leo is. Anyway, we survived. And as I've been hammering the table in a bull market, when Bitcoin price is under the 200-day moving average and you don't have enough, that's when you buy. It's real simple. It's the easiest indicator in the world. Linda, thank you for coming as well. Let's look at what else is happening too. The proxies have raged back. MicroStrategy is back above 150. And you can see all the different miners. Hive up nearly 15%. By the way, Hive, I think, scored third in my miner review a few days ago. So it's good to see some of the value there. Marathon up 11%, and all the other good names too. While Bitcoin is only up nearly 6%, the proxies go faster. Kind of like altcoins. You know, the mothership is always big and hard to move. The little guys bounce a lot faster. Let's go back to our matrix, find out where we are. And this is the critical thing I want to show you, is that red line that goes through the matrix. Vertical line is the halving date. 90 days after halving is the second vertical line. All-time high at the top, floor at the bottom. And that one going through the middle is a 200-day moving average at 63K. Well, we just smashed that. And we should turn that back into support as we go forward. So again, good times to be alive. Anglo Blackson, thank you for coming. Now, there's a couple of things that are triggering this. Perhaps, allegedly, we're not sure. One of them is this guy, a guy called RFK. He likes Bitcoin, and he is very smart. He understands exactly what's going on, and he has left the campaign trail. But he said some very profound things in the wake, and I love the way he wants to kind of clean up the food in America and stop autism in children and make the world a better place. But he also says something very profound. It's his last chance to be able to make that happen. Time is of the essence. So he has plans for himself. I won't go into politics. I will share that. He's smart. He likes Bitcoin. It's good to have him on the team. Whatever team that is that he's going to join, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, in other stuff, Tether is flying. The market cap of Tether circulating keeps going up and to the right. That means there's more cash, more liquidity, more depth in the crypto market. Very, very big. Even though still Tether is only about 7% of the total crypto market cap, it drives a lot of it. It is very, very important. So it's a good thing to see this going up too. Also, this is a proof that we are higher than earlier before compared. This is what I've been talking about for a year and a half now. We are up higher earlier than before. And this is from the Rational Root. And basically, he looks at comparing Bitcoin cycles from the cycle bottom, not from the halving or whatever else. But when you compare cycles from the bottom, the current cycle has far been outperforming previous cycles. You might wonder, how the heck is this possible? Well, I don't know. Could it be the ETFs? We shall see. We did expect diminishing returns this cycle, but this has been counterbalanced by the massive ETF inflows. And the question is, when or if the parabolic stage comes? Each cycle has seen Bitcoin diminishing returns. We had a 10x the last cycle, then a 7x. This time it could be a 4x. We're not sure from where we are, but either way, it'll probably be good. And then we get the drawdown. But if you look at where we are from the bottom, we are still higher at this stage of the game than previous cycles. That's that little pink arrow there pointing to where we are compared to other things. And after that are the previous 2 cycles. And that is the parabolic stage. Which cycle we get, we are not sure. Either way, it's probably going to be a good time. So buckle in. And we've seen Bitcoin go from 58,000 to nearly 64,000 in a couple of days. That's how fast this thing moves. That's why I say you always need to be on the train, or else you wait at the station and you miss the whole passage, the passage of time. Anyway, enough of that. Here we have another thing too. There's a lot of FUD out there that Bitcoin's not an inflation hedge from all the FUDsters against Bitcoin. But this is a cool chart from Econometrics. And it talks about, is Bitcoin an inflation hedge? Well, I think heck yes. So an inflation hedge is protection against currency debasement. And Bitcoin's primary strength lies in its ability to hedge against currency debasement, not just inflation. So during periods of massive monetary expansion, which we're going into right now, ladies and gentlemen, like the response to C19, and we're going into that huge money printing section again, this allowed it to maintain an even grow in value compared to the US dollar. Since 2020, okay, this puppy, after debasement, is still up 400%. How many assets can you make 400% in a little over 4 years? And the answer is this, because it has a fixed supply of, I call it 15 million coins because so many are lost. And scarcity is a powerful hedge against inflation and currency debasement. And we are still early, ladies and gentlemen. And I do believe this will continue to outperform other assets. And yes, we know gold has had its day in the sun over the last couple of weeks because it sniffs out a concern, a worry. This one is chasing up. I'll show you another chart in a second to show you that Bitcoin was lagging behind, but not for long. Also, Bitcoin energy gravity has fallen. The typical hosting rate, this is from the team at, excuse me, well, it's from Glassnode and Hashcode Index, but I think it's called, I forget the Substack name. I apologize. Anyway, the new gen Bitcoin ASICs only require $47,000 worth of energy to produce 1 Bitcoin. And the green line shows you how it's actually fallen. This is good for the miners. This means they don't have to burn as much electricity to make a Bitcoin anymore, especially with the Bitcoin price now being about 64K. They can be quite profitable again as well. And I did touch on Bitcoin fees yesterday, spiking because of staking. So a lot of good stuff happening out there in the miners. Another good thing that's happening for us is the Dixie is in free fall. We are over 3% off the 200-day moving average, another red line there. We're back at levels not seen since 2023. Thanks, JP. And that's good because, as I've covered before, when the Dixie falls, Bitcoin rises. And that's why we like it. And remember, all fiats are going to zero anyway, so there's no surprise there. Anglebacks and thanks again. Now, money supply too. We have to check this. It is running faster. This from Pack Chicken. This chart shows Bitcoin moving with money printing. And again, we haven't even had rate cuts yet, but global money supply is already running ahead of rate cuts. And rate cuts, once they kick in, money supply will also kick in even more. And there's so much money on the sidelines. There's like $6 or $7 trillion in money markets. Once they start not getting a good return on their investment, they're going to seek risk assets. And that will come back here. Also, gold is usually a very good barometer of risk sentiment. It's at an all-time high, meaning investors are scared. Markets will always do what it does and shake off maximum amount of investors and leave them for the dust. But here, money supply is growing fast and Bitcoin and crypto market cap is lagging. But it will not for long. The lag is typically 30 to 90 days at most. So pumps coming in, as I've been promising you. September, October, November, December are going to be fantastic. So stay healthy, my friends, so we can all be around to watch it. Also, Global liquidity is up. Shout out to Marty Party for this beautiful chart. And that includes India, $90.4 trillion in global liquidity right now. Dollar index tanking down to nearly 100. So what's going on? How come countries around the world are priming the pump? And how come the dollar index is tanking? Well, all because of this guy. He has confirmed he is going to cut rates. Again, rates go down, Bitcoin goes up. Liquidity goes up, Bitcoin goes up. I hope everybody tracks me there. But the question is next is from Jerome Powell. He did deliver his annual speech in Jackson Hole. And he had a couple of quick remarks. First of all, he said, the time has come for Fed policy to adjust, aka cut. The Fed will do everything to support the labor market. Very important. They know they pooped the bed. The labor market is destroyed. It is a shambles. And now they have the evidence to prove it. And yes, while they say they are data-driven, their data is garbage, so they're making lots of erroneous mistakes. Now they need to reverse ways real fast before they completely screw the economy. And the Fed does not welcome further weakening of the labor market. And believe me, it's crushed. There has been no job creation for the last 3.5 years. Confidence has grown about inflation being under control, although we may never hit that miraculous 2%, unless, of course, we go into a total depression. And balance of risks, Fed mandates have changed, and they will cut. The question is, how much will they cut? That's what we want to know. Either way, it's going to be at least 25 basis points in September, probably 50, as soon as they find out exactly how bad the market is, how bad the recession is in so many different sectors. This is from Bloomberg, and a little bit of what it looks like. The implied overnight rate is the blue line. The number of rate cuts priced in is the orange series of bars. The question is, how many do we get? 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 by December, probably 3. Either way, it'll be a good time. So that's the Bitcoin and the macro news. Switch gears to a little bit of crypto news too. Ethereum supply and profit is now at its lowest point since 2023. Hard to believe, considering the ETH ETF and everything else. This is a 7-day moving average from the Block Pro research. Again, not a good situation. This has been a bit of a stinker, but ETH is having a very good day today, as with the rest of the markets, which is awesome. And ETH is by no means done, ladies and gentlemen. Sony jumps into the Cryptoverse. Sony takes the plunge into Web3 with a new Ethereum Layer 2 network called Sony whoever is in the naming department in Sony. Very unoriginal. But anyway, it's yet another L2, as I covered a week or so ago. There's a new L2 on ETH every 19 days. And lots of this. Mr. Roberts up there in Canada, thank you for coming. Also, this is probably, I always talk about the biggest use cases in crypto, I believe, are payments and DEXs. Very powerful use cases, but this is super interesting as well. Joe the Hun, thanks for coming. Here are a bunch of variables, and I underlined a couple of critical things, but payments are massive on the planet. This is from the team at Milk Road Daily, but this chart, it talks about how this is a $quadrillion use case. Does anybody know how many trillions in a quadrillion? It's easy. Quad is 4, so it's 1,000 trillion in a quadrillion. So it's a crazy number to believe. And you've seen my pictures before of how much $1 trillion looks like. $1,000 trillion is like hundreds and hundreds of football fields full of dollar bills stacked on pallets. Anyway, there's a bunch of variables here I want to focus in on. First of all, the two big foundational pieces are time, enough people to adopt. This is what we need for crypto. In this chart, you see FedWire, but they move large amounts. So transactions per second doesn't need to be that fast. Call me Josh, you rock. Thank you. Visa, 24,000 TPS, and they move about 14.8 trillion a year. MasterCard, 9 trillion a year, 5,000 TPS. I didn't know MasterCard lagged so far behind Visa. Ethereum, 4.6 trillion. They move around at 11 TPS. So it's kind of like FedWire. You don't need a lot of TPS sometimes when you're moving large dollar amounts. Tron, 39 TPS, 3.7 trillion. And so, Solana is catching up to the big heavyweights up there, 0.6 trillion, but they can do 3,300 TPS. So that is big news. But the beautiful thing is, not only do we need more crypto adoption, but the really spectacular news is all the innovation has been done. Once things like, Firedancer are released, we are good to go. And crypto could easily eat into Fedwire's $quadrillion of yearly volume, and then we're good to go. We have the technology today to do that, as stressed here by this chart. Future's very bright. The only thing that's missing is that path to 1 billion daily crypto users. We'll easily get to 100 million. Billion might take a little bit longer, but it should happen in the next 2 years, I reckon. Now let's look at some more drainage stuff too. Speaking of ETH and Sol, for every $60 that goes from Sol to ETH, $104 goes from ETH to Sol. So the black hole is still in operation and still running very well. Now, back to Bitcoin versus Coinbase. A lot of people think Coinbase is a better proxy than Bitcoin for exposure to Bitcoin. This chart will tell you something a little bit different. The answer is no, it's not. Orange line is Bitcoin, Coinbase is in blue, and it's lagging not only Bitcoin price, but it's also still 50% down from its IPO price. I remember doing not one, but 2 videos warning people not to buy the Coinbase IPO before it actually IPO'd, because buying an IPO, you lose 90% of the time. It's pretty simple, but it's still down despite everything that's happening. Anglo Blackson, thanks again. And late to the party, a little bit of Tesla news, because this is kind of stunning. There's so much FUD out there regarding Tesla, and it's kind of great because it keeps the prices suppressed so us retail investors can get in earlier. By the way, there are probably as many retail investors as there are institutional investors in terms of the amount of shares that Tesla owns. So this is the one stock where retail is by far and away front-running Wall Street. So congratulations, everybody. But despite all the FUD, literally, we have Cybertruck out now for 2 quarters. It showed up late to the party, and it has destroyed the competition. Rivian, Ford, General Motors, absolutely destroyed, and this thing is just beginning to ramp. So, like everything else, Model Y, best-selling car in the world. Tesla Cybertruck, the most space-age vehicle ever built in the history of the world. The number 1 selling car over $100,000 in the world. And the number 1 selling electric truck in the world. 2 quarters in. Bonkers. But that's what they do. Anyway, also Tesla have just shipped their semi-trucks to Europe for, I think, a trade show and a test before an imminent launch in the European market too. This will be big, but it sucks up a lot of batteries. But the good news is all the competition are retreating. So the battery situation is no longer the limiting factor for scaling these puppies out. Now, we've got to get some very important macro news covered before we go. The labor market is cracked. So hopefully Jerome Powell and his friends around, all the PhDs, are looking at this number, because this is a scary freaking chart. Further evidence of a weakening U.S. labor market. This is the Philadelphia Full Services Full-Time Employment Index. It declined by over 10 points to minus 14.9 in August. Its lowest level since April 2020. Does anybody remember what happened in April 2020? March 2020? Yes, that's how bad things are. All the data was wrong. All the decisions made about being data-driven were wrong. Okay? Clear as day. The labor market has well and truly cracked. And this comes after a massive, massive decline. In addition as well, non-manufacturers' general assessment of business activity has crumbled another 25.1 points to the lowest level as well since 2020. Things are really bad. Another bad recession indicator too. Like, no wonder gold is spiking, because gold, like Bitcoin, can sniff out a crisis really well. They have some type of spidey sense. But this is the Conference Board leading economic index. And I wish I had all these charts for Australia and Europe and South America and everything else. But trust me, it's a poop show everywhere in the world. China, you name it, everybody is hurting right now. but the BLEI, which I think is the Conference Board of Leading Economic Index, fell again, 0.6% month over month, way more than expectations of about 0.3 or 0.4 if I recall. And the index has now dropped 28 of the last 29 months, and that's the longest streak ever since 2008, which happened right before the global financial crisis. This drawdown is horrific. This looks like depression levels of the 1970s. And in the past, each time the index marks such a drawdown, the US economy entered a recession. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the printers are going to go into very high gear. Jerome Powell, all you need to look at is this chart. Your mandate is to keep jobs. Didn't work. And of course, inflation, which you don't count properly anyway. You just keep revising how you measure it. And then this, disaster zone. Really bad, everybody. What else? We have a little bit of good news, though. Mortgages are coming down, which means real estate will go up in price. The 30-year mortgage rate in the US has moved down to 6.46%. Remember, 7.79% a couple of weeks ago. Now it's 6.46%. This is the lowest level since early 2023, ladies and gentlemen. This will also help people get into new homes with lower mortgage rates. But unfortunately, when the rates come down, that means people can afford more and the prices that houses are sold for goes up. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And a little bit of other news too. We've been talking about kind of BRICS nations and Russia and Saudi Arabia and India and Brazil. Well, check this. This is a piece where the Indian government is preparing a huge consultation paper to gather input from industry stakeholders as it seeks to balance innovation with regulation in shaping the country's crypto policy. Expect this to be released in September. And we could have the biggest country in the world with the most people. And by the way, I have a lot of people from India watch my channel. They love crypto. More than the rupee. And what happens when you unleash 1.4 billion people onto crypto? Then we get to our billion daily active users. And then things really take off. Forget a $2 trillion crypto market cap. It'll be 10 trillion. Okay? And that's what we're looking for. Hope you enjoy the show. Thank you all for coming. It's been a great day. Let me check on the Bitcoin price, actually. Oh my goodness. We just spiked to 64,500. The breakout is up another $1,000 since I started. This is insane. What a weekend. The weekend hasn't even started, actually, where I am. It's only 2 o'clock here in the afternoon on a Friday. Thank you, Zaltine, Tesla, and everybody from all over the world. Take care of each other. See you all tomorrow. Have a good night.